What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
The second modern, not counting the model of the 50s, generation of Skoda Octavia TYP1Z, aka A5, was created on the platform. PQ35, which is related to the VW Golf V, Golf 6, Audi A3 MK3 and cars on the unified with it platform PQ46. Octavia A5 has become noticeably larger than the first generation, but inherited from it the main chip, the body type liftback, which combines the best qualities of a sedan and hatchback. And for those for whom the cargo volume of liftback is not enough, station wagon bodies are intended. The Octavia has no surprises in terms of technology. It is a typical representative of PQ35 family. The body is all steel, but with wide use of galvanized panels. All versions have McPherson front and simple multilink rear. Drive in most cars is front, but there are variants with all-wheel drive, where the rear axle is driven through the Haldex clutch. Motors are located in the front transversely. The layout is in line. The architecture of electronics is very advanced, with multiplexed buses and rich possibilities of customization and expansion. The version after restyling has a more modern set of blocks and more possibilities, but the differences are interesting mainly to auto electricians. Most of the options were simply not used on a relatively budget car. As for the power module, the car received all the most modern at that time technologies of Volkswagen concern, in particular, engines, with turbocharging and direct injection, as well as pre-selective boxes. In our market, it was Octavia that carried all these innovations to the masses, and the collision of progress with domestic reality. In many car owners for a long time discouraged the desire to contact with the new and even generated a trend to fear turbocharging, direct injection, and robots with two clutches. For the cautious and conservative, however, atmospheric Octavias with Aisin hydromechanical automatic transmissions were available. The car was one of the top 10 best-selling models in Russia, and until the Polo sedan appeared, it was often the concern's best-selling car, ahead of the VW Golf, which was losing popularity on our market. And it is not surprising that it was assembled in Kaluga in the first place. However, cars with diesel engines, with station wagon bodies, with all-wheel drive and top versions of Laurin and Amp, Clement were imported from the Czech Republic, Mlada Boleslav, and Slovakia, Kvasny. Timeline February 2004. Start of production of the model. The range of engines includes gasoline 1.4 MPI 75 horsepower, 1.6 MPI 102 horsepower, 1.6 FSI 115 horsepower, 2.0 FSI 150 horsepower. Diesel motors 1.9 105 horsepower and 2.0 136 horsepower, both with pump jets. All motors except the 1.4 are available with Aisin automatic transmission. January 2005. The model in station wagon body was presented. October 2005. Appearance of VRS version with 2.0 TSI 200 horsepower engine. May 2006. Electronics update, new steering rack, new ABS unit with ESP system. In the European market it will be already in the basic configuration. In Russia, for extra charge. August 2006. All-wheel drive model Octavia Scout is presented. In addition to all-wheel drive, the car has unique equipment and differs by a number of stylistic solutions. June 2007. Appearance of a version with 2.0 diesel engine and particulate filter. December 2007. The 1.8 TSI 152 horsepower engine replaces the 2.0 FSI engines. May 2008. New diesel engines with common rail are introduced, as well as DSG boxes. Almost all of the old gasoline engines are discontinued, so the pre-resto cars produced from August to December 2008 are fitted with motors from the new lineup. October 2008. Restyling of the model is presented at the Paris Motor Show. January 3, 2009. The production of the model after the update was launched. The exterior and the range of engines were changed. Within half a year, all versions of diesel engines with pump jets were removed from production. The role of initial diesel engine was taken by a new 1.6 TDI. The gasoline motors have also been completely revised. Version 1 6 MPI remained only for Russia, and in Europe is replaced by 1 2 TSI. Motors 1 6 FSI are replaced by 1 4 TSI, atmospheric. 1 4 MPI are no longer offered. All versions with automatic transmission changed the box. Instead of hydromechanical ASIN offered dry DQ200 for cars with motors up to 1.8 litres and wet DQ250 for motors 2.0. May 2009. Update of VRS models. Restyled exterior styling updated. EA113 Series 2.0 TSI motors on VRS replaced by new EA888 range of the same displacement. November 2010. The version with Octavia appearance before restyling became available in some Eastern European countries as Octavia Tour with 1 and 4 and 1.6 MPI engines. This version was assembled in Ukraine. January 2013. The model was replaced by the next generation. Body. Exterior panels. The body is partially galvanized, and internal cavities are treated with hot wax, but it is let down by poor paint quality. Peeling small chips and blistering paint chips on bodies are the rule rather than the exception. They are literally everywhere, on the front edge of the hood, on the doors below the decorative molding and near the handle, on the top of the sill, in the door openings, on the rear door, on the front edge of the roof and, of course, on the arches. Depending on the year of manufacture, the style of operation and the owner's approach, these nasties may be subtle, almost imperceptible, or turn into huge rusty patches and swollen rusty door seams and caulking. But they will be with a probability close to 100%, you just have to look for them. Only garage cars with minimum mileage, with double factory coloring and cars with timely made ceramics are without chips. Well, or simply repainted for some reason. And yes, cars with non-metallic painting have a slightly thinner paintwork layer, and the risks of paintwork damage are higher. The reasons are not only because the paintwork is too delicate. Some elements are chipped simply because of their shape. For example, on the edges of the doors with a reverse bend and on the outside of the wheel arches. Somewhere the body design is unsuccessful in general. So, scuffs of the front fender at the junction with the headlight are almost inevitable. The rubber seal rubs the paintwork to holes. And the film was not provided. Below there is a shelf for fastening of a bumper to a fender and a fender to a front panel, and moisture stagnates there. Headlights and front panel have to be removed quite often, almost at any serious work on the motor, unless it is not 8-valve 1. 6. So the clearance is not going to be very accurately aligned anyway, and the mounting points may have paintwork damage. Door apertures in the lower part rubs the sealant. It is a bit stiff, and if the threshold is dirty, it easily scratches the paintwork, especially if the doors have sagged. The rear door has a similar problem. It has a Hofmeister bend and rubs the paint in the rear pillar ledge. As you can see, the factory has spared overlays and film. It is glued only in dealer cars and on a very small area of the rear door and sill. On cars after restyling, there is a factory plastic cover on the sills, but it does not protect the edge of the metal, but dust collects under it, and the metal rusts there even better than just open. On the rear fender's corrosion climbs from the bumper mounting points upwards, into the gap and the seam of the fender, and there is just a sharp stamping, and the zinc layer is thinned, and the metal is strained. Especially suffers the rear edge of the arch. There raises the paint in the first place. In the cars before restyling, there is a characteristic place of chipping on the hood, just opposite the junction of the upper edge of the headlight and the fender. Here the bending load on the beak is maximum and the edge of the sealant rubs the metal. As a result, a rust spot grows from the inner edge of the hood panel. After restyling, the modified sealant has reduced the chances of problems in this area. License plate lights damage the paintwork of the trunk door during installation, and corrosion at their mounts is the rule rather than the exception. Felt lockers at the front and rear save on noise insulation, but with age they start to accumulate moisture, contributing to the formation of rust inside. Underneath, the most unpleasant awaits the potential owner of Octavia A5 when inspecting from underneath and during partial disassembly. With removal of bumpers, lockers, covers, etc. Even in low-mileage cars, which externally are almost perfect, everything can be very neglected from the bottom. First of all, check how tightly fits the factory layer of anti-gravel on the sills, especially where there are traces of sandblasting from the front wheels. The coating lags behind the metal, but does not fly off, forming a cavity with water, which gradually destroys the galvanizing layer and the metal itself. And the layer of anti-gravel itself is quite hard. Just by pressing a finger, it is not always possible to identify the problematic place. You will have to search by sound, checking by pressing with a hard object. And the source of the problem, where it all started, can be located at a distance of a dozen centimeters from the main focus of film corrosion, for example, on the lower or side edge of the sill or on the upper shelf, being connected with it by the thinnest leg of blown paint. Part of the sill is hidden by the front fender, where there are a couple of mounting holes through which dirt and water enter the sill from the pocket behind the front arch. And from them, too, subfilm corrosion spreads, reaching the area covered with anti-gravel. At the same time, the lower attachment of the front fender at the junction with the sill rusts intensively. The plastic sill cover on cars after restyling is not designed to prevent damage to the sill by the gasket. Its edge scratches just the same. It accumulates moisture and hides rust pockets for some time. The situation is no better in the wheel arches. At the front, the area not covered by the locker is badly rotted. Over time, numerous pinholes merge here into a layer of solid rust. Particularly affected are the holes with glands, through which the brake pipes and wiring are taken out, as well as the bracket off. The brake hose mounting behind the suspension post and the pocket above the front part of the sill. The inner edge of the arch also willingly rusts, at least on cars from Moscow and St. Petersburg, especially if the felt locker is wet and swollen. In the rear arches, sometimes the vertical seam in the front part of the arch and the spar below the seam of connection with the inner arch suffer. Fortunately, the seam itself is covered by a thick layer of sealant. The arch area behind the shock absorber and its mounting bracket is covered with sores. And in the right arch, rust is also getting behind the fuel filler pipes. You can look for pockets of corrosion around the spare wheel well and at the rear suspension longitudinal arm mounting bracket. Rusty welded rear subframe is quite a typical picture, as well as rusty transverse body spars above it, anti-gravel coating and sealant. On their seams were spared. What is pleasant? The very bottom under the cabin and the seams of the engine compartment, trunk, body pillars are usually intact. There is minimal rust on the floors in the cabin and is usually related to heater leaks and flooding. This car should be inspected most thoroughly from the bottom. From above, everything is treated simply and easily, thanks to a layer of galvanizing and an abundance of body parts. But felt lockers and not very qualitative elaboration of protection of sills and rear part of a body can be much more expensive. Body equipment peeling emblems and chrome is something to be expected. Benson's soft windshield is also something to be expected, even though it has been in good shape for about 10 years. The front headlights on all cars are rubbed off even faster, requiring polishing and coating, and on cars after restyling the lenses are also prone to burnout. There are no headlights here. At the same time, headlights are prone to condensation, and the lower headlight mounting on cars after restyling is unsuccessful, the adjusting screw brakes. Fortunately, there is a repair kit for this problem, and instead of a plastic stud you can put a steel one. Everything is fixed traditionally: polishing, film, Chinese lenses inside, the glass is removable, on butyl sealant, and an extra hole in the headlight housing. Bad owners just remove the cover. The hood opening cable has what is called a Bowden clutch, a cable splice point, and it breaks, after which the hood can be opened only after long dances with tambourines, so it is better to tighten it in advance with a plastic clamp or tightly screwed with a wire. Fog lights are delicate, do not like puddles and frequent switching on, but it is quite typical. But the problems with mirrors are more serious than you expect. They corrode aluminum brackets, from what on doors there are characteristic drips, and the mechanism of folding sours. Similar situation on the bases of door handles. Here the aluminum bracket is also destroyed, leaving dirty marks and damaging paintwork. But the most unpleasant thing here is inside the door, not outside. To get to the mechanism of the window elevator and lock, you will have to remove the intentionally glued and riveted shield of the door mechanisms. On Passat B5 the solution was almost the same, except that the shield was bolted on. On the Octavia, however, the rivets will have to be drilled out. However, to replace the broken glass it is not necessary to do this. You can simply remove the fragments through the hole of the speaker. It is also riveted, but not glued, and the glass is inserted and removed from above. Many owners complain about noise insulation, but the problem is often poor door seals. The rear vent in the doors has an adjustable gap. Over time the seal sits down, and it needs to be adjusted again. This is a typical problem, which manifested itself already after 60,000 mileage. It is enough to remove the door trim, and you can get to the adjustment bolt with a screwdriver. Those who do not understand the peculiarities of the car design, in an attempt to remove the excessive gap, often fill the seal with plumber's sealant. Front doors will have to be adjusted as a whole, because the front driver's door at mileage of 150 plus noticeably sags, requiring the use of adjustment plates, replacement of hinges or tricks with turning the distance washer or bending. And if the car has been driven for a long time with a sagging door, the lock bracket and the seal will need replacement. Be sure to check whether the microswitch operates to open the door. Often, in order not to get into the lock, not to remove the internal mechanism shield, put an external opening sensor, the shape of the door trim allows to embed it without touching the metal, and the wiring to the lock is located on the inside of the shield. It is very easy to connect to the yellow-brown wire to the switch. The windows on the Octavia are cable-operated, and the cable sometimes breaks. The cable mechanism complete with rollers can be purchased literally for a couple thousand rubles, but the replacement is complicated. By the design of the door, and in the rear doors sometimes at the same time breaks the gears. In front doors a jamming of a glass it simply skewers with a crunch, and therefore breakage of a reducer of a window elevator occurs many times less often. Part original price of non-original 2-body front headlight halogen 19697 TYC 8040 DPA 6241 front headlight. Xenon 41 260 Hella 3941 TYC 8940 windshield 2316 Pilkington 9118 XYG 6 521 front wing 10 229 Prasco 5 270 TYG 4051 front bumper 9660 Polcar 4969 TYG 6 233 hood 29088 TYG 11 671 Blick 25 388 interior. Excellent interior in its time became the main competitive advantage of Octavia. Firstly, it is simply very spacious. The car had no competitors in its class. Even many cars of formerly higher D-class of those years were less spacious inside. Quality of finishing is very good, and ergonomics is excellent, all Volkswagen. In addition, the car looks graceful, like a sedan, but at the back there is a full-fledged trunk door, so you can use the entire volume of the salon for cargo. Minuses too are enough. It was told above about noise insulation and unimportant seals. At the same time internal door handles squeak, and sometimes the lock of a back door knocks. The sunroof is very noisy and leaks, but it is a rare option, found only in imported cars. The ceiling does not like even minor moisture, easily peels off after dry cleaning or if the car is caught in the rain with the windows open. Sill plates and cloth covering of door cards are rubbing, and soft touch coating of buttons is peeling off on cars in rich configurations. There is no coating on budget ones, and the resource is higher. Trunk liner is clamping on the left side of all cars. It is not the consequences of an accident, but just a design flaw. Well, and the ashtray is broken by everyone. It is just flimsy, and mileage and attitude have nothing to do with it. The light switch wiped white. It is just a characteristic of all Volkswagen-like, where the driver constantly turns on and off. The low beam, but does not drive with it constantly. The resource of a steering wheel and seats at the same time is very decent. The plastic steering wheel is eternal under normal use. With mileage over 200 it does not differ much from a new one. Fabric seats are also very wear-resistant, except that the threads in the seams are a little ragged. The mileage of such cars can be easily reeled off, especially in simple versions with MKP and without ESP. Leather steering wheel with buttons is less wear-resistant, but with careful use, without scratching with fingernails and rings, it retains its texture up to 100,000, and normal appearance, up to 200. Leather and combined seats are made of leatherette of rather mediocre quality. Even in Laurenan Damp, Amp, Clement sets, where not bad leather is used, the backside of the trim is still made of leatherette, and their front side is made of original Alcantara. Leather does not serve too reliably everywhere. In the absence of special care already by 5 to 6 years creases and cracks become clearly visible and require restitching or masking with liquid leather. In hot regions, the problems appeared during the warranty period, and under heavy drivers in addition to the upholstery damage, the seams and the seat side wall suffer a lot. The resource of the cabin fan is very small, especially if the climate is manual and there is no external pre-filter. The plastic of the heater tubes ages very quickly, and they become brittle. The problem is regular overheating of motors and not very good antifreeze. Leaks due to broken tubes are surprisingly common. Check them on the engine compartment side for Kolhor's repairs. The air conditioner here is rather hardy. On cars with 1.6 engines at mileage up to 200, the bearing of air conditioner clutch can make noise, but otherwise everything is well assembled and does not cause any special troubles. Corrosion and cracks of tubes are rare, more often after road accidents and serious works on the engine compartment. Electrics. Despite the overall simplicity of the machine design, the electrics of the PQ3546 platform are very sophisticated, with a lot of blocks and huge possibilities. It is a pity that the quality of wiring is not very high. As in many other cars, typical places of breakdowns are wiring in door and trunk corrugations, but there are also breakdowns of the interior harness, and in its upper part, under the dashboard, and in the underhood part, after entering the underhood fuse block, and just wiring on the engine. The system has rich diagnostic capabilities. The presence of a scanner and simple diagnostic software is simply necessary, but they will not help to find the problem if there is no power on one of the main blocks or there is a short circuit in the data bus. Add to this the increasingly common trouble with corrosion of block pads in the passenger compartment, high load on the alternator, and water in the underhood fuse box. All in all, by the age of 10 plus, the Octavia may well already have quite expensive and hard to fix problems on this part. But there is some good news. Now the price of most electronic blocks is not too high. Thus, the BCM unit, aka the comfort unit, which is very sensitive to short circuits and other troubles, has learned to rebind and repair. And it is located not on the floor, as in the past generations of various VW models, Passat B5, Touareg I, Skoda Superb I and others, but under the front panel of the cabin, which reduces the risk of flooding. Other less vulnerable blocks are also well studded and mastered. There are no problems at all with key binding in cars before restyling. There are no special difficulties with recoding of dashboards, replacement of blocks and their firmware. Wide possibilities of customization and too easy access to system settings entails risks of unsuccessful coding, unsuccessful firmware, and simply crookedly written non-factory software. Add to this the inevitable interventions of electricians to connect new units. In general, it is worth checking the compliance of the actual and factory configuration, and it is better not to get in touch with designers. Intermediate result: do not buy the perfect appearance and be sure to check the car on a hoist, preferably with endoscopy of hidden cavities, checking the anti-gravel layer, fenders, and all that is described in the relevant section. You also need to be careful when inspecting the interior, keeping in mind that the good quality of most finishing materials allows you to mask the mileage, but there are little things that can give away the true kilometerage. Do not neglect quality computer diagnostics with reading all blocks. And once again, I will voice an obvious idea about electrics. The closer it is to stock, the better. In conclusion, the Skoda Octavia A5 presents a unique challenge when it comes to assessing its true mileage, particularly due to the treacherous anti-gravel treatments and the clever interior masking techniques. While these features can enhance the car's aesthetic appeal and protect it from wear, they can also obscure important information for potential buyers. It's essential to approach any used Skoda Octavia A5 with a discerning eye, ensuring that you verify the vehicle's history and condition thoroughly. By doing so, you can make an informed decision and enjoy the reliability and performance that this model has to offer. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more insights on automotive topics.